The charity celebrated its 30th anniversary last year, so that's how long we've been running, and it's moved on considerably since the early days when it was organised, founded and run solely by volunteers, and actually the aircraft only ever went up when we had enough money to pay for the fuel for it to do so. So very, very different situation to the cutting edge 24/7 emergency response service that we now offer the local community. This actual one that you see here, we've been using since 2021, but we've been using one of this type since 2016. So on average, our crew attend 4 calls a day. That's on average. Some days are busier, obviously. And each time the helicopter goes up, it costs on average £4,000. But as well as the helicopter, we do have our critical care cars as well. So we can respond to call outs by car if that's the quickest and easiest way to get there. We were located in our temporary home across the way at Waddington Airfield for quite a long time in terms of the helicopter, but here at HQ we've been here just over 3 years now. I come in the morning, I've only been here a year so I wasn't here when it opened, but I come in the morning and you sort of come in through the front doors and you look through and you see the helicopter sat here, and then you go up to your desk and you're busy doing your day job and raising the funds that we need to operate, and all of a sudden the klaxon goes off, you see the crew walk out and the helicopter take off, and you know that somebody somewhere is having the worst day of their lives. But actually it really reinforces why on the charity side we're doing what we do, and just reinforces how important it is that we continue to raise the money that we need. Last year we attended 1,724 to be precise missions during the course of the year, and they range actually from road traffic accidents through to medical emergencies, so things like heart attacks and things like that, accidents out at workplaces. Lincolnshire's a very agricultural county, so we might attend equestrian instances, for example, or farming, things like that. So it is a real mixture in terms of the things that the helicopter will be called out for. So in terms of getting those calls, it actually comes through the ambulance service. So we don't decide which ones we go to. Basically, if somebody needs, they'll phone the emergency service, they'll ask for ambulance, and then we have trained dispatchers that are located at EMAS headquarters, and they're listening to these calls all the time, and there'll be certain trigger things that they hear, and they're trained to listen out for them, and if it's something that they think warrants the air ambulance, then the call will be put through to us here at HQ.
And that £4,000 a flight
Yeah.
that you mentioned,
Yeah.
tell us where that comes from, Rachel.
That all comes from the communities across Nottinghamshire and Lincolnshire. So we get absolutely no government funding at all. All the money that we need to run this 24-hour life-saving service comes from the communities that we serve. And what it does mean is that we are masters of our own destiny. So we generate the revenue that is required, the income that's required to operate the service, and it means we can be at the absolute cutting edge of medicine. We carry blood and plasma on board, which land ambulances don't. We carry anaesthetic. Our doctors and paramedics can administer life-saving treatment wherever that patient is. So in the old days, we were sort of seen as a bit of a what they called a swoop and scoop service. So it was all about getting to the patient as quickly as possible, picking them up and getting them to hospital. We've really moved on from that now, and we are a medical, we take the equivalent of an A&E to the side of the patient. So we can perform amputations, open chest surgery. It's absolutely phenomenal what the crew actually do when they respond to any call that we get. What lots of people don't realise is, as well as going out and saving lives, you know, we save lives on a daily basis, the patients and families of patients actually are invited to come back into HQ afterwards to chat with the pilots and the paramedic and the doctor that treated them. If you can imagine, one day you've got up, you've gone to work, you're in your car driving along, I don't know, the A1, and that's the last thing you remember, and suddenly you wake up in a hospital bed 2 weeks later with no recollection of what happened between that moment and this moment. And actually to be able to come in and talk to the crew here, hear what happened, how they treated you, who responded, is really crucial in terms of recovery process for that person or for the family members of the people that we attend.
My name is Tim Taylor. I'm one of 12 pilots who keep the Links and Notts Air Ambulance flying 365 days a year.
How long have you been a pilot here?
On and off for the last 20 years. So Yeah, 2004 I did my first shift, so you can imagine how much the services evolved in that time. Prior to that I did 14 years in the army, of which the last 7 years was flying army helicopters. So the aircraft itself is an Augusta Westland 169. It's a joint Italian-British design. We're very fortunate. It's probably the fifth generation, the latest generation of air ambulance. So we fly them for about 10 years generally before we upgrade to a newer model. And just as our kind of 10-year expiry date came up on the last aircraft, these particular machines came onto the market. So our changeover was perfect to be one of probably this is probably the third aircraft in the whole country of this particular type. So the reason we went for it is because it's faster, it's got a bigger cabin, it's got a higher payload and a higher endurance, so we can fit more passengers in, more patients in. A standard crew is 2 pilots, a doctor and a paramedic. We've got a third seat which we use for a training position, so the next generation of doctor or paramedic can fly with us on a daily basis, where in the past they were restricted to car-based training, so their experience levels go through the roof. The patient fits nicely in the middle of the cabin on the stretcher, which allows 360-degree access, and then all the equipment is within arm's reach for the clinicians to treat the patient.
When a new copter arrives, is there anything new for you to learn, operations-wise?
Yeah, so for us, it involves heading off to Milan in Italy to do a factory course, which is 4 weeks of ground school, followed by 2 weeks of flying training. Once we're qualified, we then still have to prove our skills, so every 6 months we're put through a whole kind of driving test again, which involves kind of an hour and a half, 2 hours of aircraft emergencies, instrument flying, use of night vision goggles, so the full 9 yards. So the cabin of the aircraft, the first type of this model that we used, it had lots of nice storage brackets, lots of nice cupboards, looked really smart. Everything had a home, but what we were finding is with the introduction of the doctor, the critical care teams, all their equipment's portable. At times we'd have to land several hundred yards away from the patient if it was in a built-up area, for instance. So we've kind of condensed all the equipment to fit in these handy sized carry bags. So it doesn't look as smart in the cabin itself, but everything's portable to take to the scene. The patient goes on the stretcher. This side we have the doctor, far side we've got the paramedic who controls the communications to the ambulance control room. So, latest generation of aircraft. In the past, all we had was kind of an instrument panel full of steam-driven instruments, temperatures and pressures, and measuring various things. Now what we've got is a completely glass cockpit. Navigation used to be done on paper charts. Now it's all on iPads and kind of latest sat-nav type equipment. So our workload in the front is drastically reduced. The aircraft does a lot of the things for us. We operate as a 2-pilot model. That's because we fly on instruments, which is in cloud, sort of airport to airport, and we operate at night using the night vision goggles and a big searchlight that's attached to the tail of the aircraft.
How long from here to being the centre of Nottingham, for example?
Okay, so from the time we take the call to lifting skids off will take us approximately 3 to 4 minutes. We travel at 140 knots, which equates to about 170 miles an hour. If we've got a tailwind, it will top the speed up to in excess of 200 miles an hour. So from here to Nottingham, which is probably the best part of a 2-hour drive, we're looking at 15 minutes by air. Where we're based here, slap bang in the centre of Lincolnshire and Nottinghamshire. There's not many counties that are a perfect circle, but if you draw a circle around links and knots, we're plumb in the middle of that. So from here to our furthest reaches on the periphery, so Skegness, Hull, Kings Lynn, Mansfield Way, again we're only looking at kind of 15-minute transit flights. And then the onward journey to a hospital, we use major trauma centres generally, so we've got Hull, Royal, Sheffield Northern General and Queen's Medical Centre in Nottingham. So from anywhere in the county, you're probably no more than 10-minute flight from a hospital.
And Tim, can there be times when a call comes in that you're needed and the weather won't allow that to happen?
Yeah, so the only weather kind of that stops us flying is thick fog. We need to be able to see the patient with the eyeball. Most aircraft fly from airport to airport, so the big passenger jets can land in foggy conditions, but they're programmed to do so. When we're flying out to land on the A1 or in a town centre, we've got no kind of instrument landing system, so it all needs to be done on the eyeball. So it's just fog really. Wind and turbulence, we probably lose about 4 to 5 days a year when we get the real bad published storms that you see on the news. So even on really windy, turbulent days, we're allowed to fly in. We have a limitation on starting and stopping the blades because they tend to flap as the inertia increases. So we've got a wind speed limit of 50 miles an hour on that. So that's quite sporty at times starting up.
So we know that even though we provide a 24/7 response service currently, and that's both with the helicopter and the 2 critical care cars. So just to say that we've got one based here in Lincoln and one is based over in Nottingham, and we use those if we need to get into a city centre, for example, or a really built up area where the helicopter can't get to. But in addition to that, even having that, we know that there are some patients that we simply can't get to because we're already on another mission. So with that in mind, we did announce earlier this year that we are expanding and we are having a second helicopter. That's due to be with us in 2027. So you'll be seeing lots of information about our Mission Possible 2. No promise of Tom Cruise, but it's Mission Possible 2, and that will be about raising funds in order for us to actually have a second helicopter so we can go out and save more lives. And there's lots and lots of different ways you can support us. You can visit one of our shops. We've got one in Rugby, one in Mansfield Woodhouse. You can get involved in our challenge events. So we do lots of things like skydives and running in half marathons, abseils. We've got a cold water plunge coming up, a fire walk. Anything that we're organising, we're always looking for people to take part and fundraise for us. If you're doing your own fundraising challenge, if you've always had a desire, I don't know, to sit in a bath of beans for 24 hours and you'd like to do that and raise money for us, we would love to hear from you. As well as that, we go to lots of local events. So you'll have seen us at Lincolnshire Show, we go to Nottinghamshire Show, we'll be at Rugby Show. We go to lots and lots of different events over the summer. So if you're organising an event, again, please do get in touch with us. We offer talks. So if you're a member of a Rotary or a WI or any kind of organisation that invites guest speakers in, again, please do get in touch with us and we can send out one of our amazing volunteers to come and talk to you about the work that we do here at the Air Ambulance. And then if you have a business as well, we work with a tremendous amount of businesses across Lincolnshire and Nottinghamshire, and they all support us in lots and lots of different ways. It might be that they're doing something in the workplace, they might want to get involved as a group of people within some of the things that we're doing, but there is so many different ways that you can fundraise for us and help us raise the money that we need. And then on top of all of that, we have a cohort of the most amazing people that volunteer their time. And obviously, sometimes time is the most precious thing of all. And they help us by attending events, working in the shop, coming along and stewarding events, coming into HQ and writing, letters of thanks to all of our supporters. And then we also do have our general donations and individual giving and legacies as well. So yeah, there's lots and lots of different ways you can support us.